Is Rui from Demon Slayer a victim or a villain? Arguably, he is both. Rui was a traumatized child who thought to recreate what he had lost, a family. And while he was a cruel, controlling, and disturbing demon, he was one of the few characters, the few villains Tanjiro emphasized with. Today we're going to explore and analyze Rui from a psychological lens, because his story is painfully human. As a quick reminder, Rui from the manga/anime Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba is the main antagonist of the Mount Natagumo arc, which is the place where Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke were sent to after their brief reprieve in the Wisteria Inn. Rui is Lower Moon 5, one of the 12 Kizuki that are in service to Muzan, and one of Muzan's strongest demons. The reason why I wanted to talk about Rui is not just because his story is incredibly interesting, or because I cried my eyes out watching his storyline unfold, though those are very strong motivation as to why I'm making this video, but also because from his demon blood art to the way he functioned as a demon made him Muzan's favorite and made him stand out from all of the other demons in the franchise, which is a tall order because there were many demons and many interesting demons. Let's go through who Rui is exactly and how he presented himself, how he showed up within the series. From the get-go, it was clear that Rui was different. He did not confront any of the demon slayers. He was a part of a quote-unquote nest of demons. Now, those two things are really interesting for two reasons. First of all, demons just attack humans and demon slayers specifically on sight, while Rui was like, no, I'm out of here, you guys deal with it. When I say you guys, I mean like other demons. And second of all, Rui is part of a quote-unquote family of demons, and that does not happen because demons do not cooperate. This specific character trait of Rui's, which is that he seeks community, whether he successfully achieves community is another matter, but he seeks community, he seeks partnership, he seeks belonging in a way that the other demons really don't. And because he was so different in the way he functioned, Muzan liked him above all because he was interesting, right? Now, this does not stop here, and this is not something that Tanjiro is privy to, but Rui shared his powers with the other demons that were part of his family, which is why they look like him but also have similar powers in a way. This is incredibly interesting and telling for who Rui is as a character. Demons don't share. They really don't. And sharing one's power, especially as one of the lower moons, is unthinkable because the lower moons, as you know, have only one goal in mind, which is to become more powerful and gain more of Muzan's blood. Rui, frankly, doesn't care about that at all. Now back to Rui and Tanjiro facing off. Tanjiro noticed that Rui was very strange indeed because he avoided a confrontation, but then what actually instigated the fight between Tanjiro and Rui was Tanjiro questioning Rui's belief about family, and that went really well. And by that I mean it didn't go well at all. Nezuko had to go to Tanjiro's rescue, and then he had to fight for his life and go beyond what he was capable of at the time because he was not ready to face off against one of the Kizuki. Regardless, this is really interesting because Rui could not deal with his belief about family being questioned. And his conception of family, well, it's not the traditional conception of family. I think we can all agree on that. And it is very transactional, which is kind of expected from a demon. But it also gives off another detail about Rui, which is that it's incredibly childish. It's an incredibly childish take on what family is, which is the youngest brother is going to be protected at all costs by everybody else. Now, I'm not saying that, family is not supposed to take care of each other, but the way he takes it to extremes is kind of telling of his maturity. We find out through flashbacks that Rui is in fact a child. Now, a child that by this point has lived for several decades and should be an adult, but really isn't because he was turned as a child. And there is another character, Ume Daki, that also has the same narrow, childish sort of thinking. Both of them were turned into demons as children. I think there is a connection there. So it does tell a lot about his psychological state. Now back to the whole confrontation. The reason why Tanjiro calls him out on his behaviour is that because he is violent, he's being cruel to his quote-unquote family member. And Rui responds by, she is the older sister, she is supposed to protect me. Now, we already went through the whole, that's a very childish way of thinking about what family is. But the other information that kind of slips out right then and there is why Rui seeks family and bonds in the first place. He wants to feel protected. He wants to be protected. He wants to be the weak one and have stronger people take care of him. Now, this sounds insane, especially in the context of a demon, one that is as powerful as Rui is. So it's like, where is this coming from? Why is he like this? Because this doesn't make any sense. And Tanjiro also thought the same, like, you don't make any sense, my dude. Why are you, like, forcing people into becoming your family members and just turning them into pawns? That's not what family is supposed to be like. And while Tanjiro did not have the context of why Rui was, frankly, off his rockers, we do. Because while they were fighting and Tanjiro was very close to succeeding, then Gyu just stepped in and just finished the job. Well, we got the flashback from Rui's human life. And that was so telling. Whilst I may have tried to cosplay Rui as much as I could with my regular clothes and the makeup I have at my disposition, I am in fact also a trained hypnotherapist. The reason why I love characters from Kimetsu no Yaiba so much is because they are so well developed and they explain so much about the human psyche. The whole flashback look into their human lives, their insecurities, their desires, is incredibly accurate to my experience with people I've worked in the past. And now I want to give you a little bit more of an insight as to why. So I'm going to roleplay the rest of Rui's analysis as though Rui himself was coming to me for a hypnotherapy session. And yes, I realized that I would not survive the encounter, but this is roleplay here. Rui, what are you coming to me for? What can I help you with? What is the problem that you're currently dealing with? Well, he wouldn't say it like that, but just imagine here, this is some creative liberties. I have difficulty bonding with people. I want to have a family, but for some reason it's not working, even though I turned this demon and that demon and the other demons into an older sister figure, a mother figure, father figure. I don't feel protected. I don't feel valued. I don't feel treasured as a youngest child would. I don't feel what I should. Now, pay attention to the fact that Rui somewhat knows what it is like to be loved. He doesn't know how to recreate it, but he somewhat knows. And we find out why he somewhat knows what it is when we see the flashbacks from his human life. Let's assume that in this fictional hypnotherapy session, where Rui just told me what his issues are and the way it's currently affecting him, what we would do next in a hypnotherapy session is actually put him under hypnosis and have him go back through scenes, memories, anything that could explain the reason, the root cause as to why he can't feel this familial bond with anyone, why he cannot find that love. And then what would happen on his end, based on his human memories, would be that he would see exactly what we saw in the flashback. In this first scene, first memory, he would see himself running outside, falling into the snow, and have his parents come and pick him up. Very sweet, innocent memory. In the second scene or memory that could explain the root cause, the reason why he can't feel that love from people, he can't create himself the family he wants. Rui, human Rui, is sick, and his parents are taking care of him. And in this last scene or memory that explains why he can't have this family that he wishes for so much, we would have Rui, who just turned into a demon, who slaughtered people, see his parents try to off him. And so he defended himself and he killed them both. Now, at this moment, Rui is rightfully so traumatized because his parents just tried to, and the only explanation he can deal with at this moment in time, because of what he just lived through, is that they can't possibly be his parents. Because why would his parents, who love him so much, his dear parents, want to murder him? First thing. Second thing, he is convincing himself these people could not possibly be his parents, because if they are truly his parents, and they are his parents, now he has to live with the fact that he was the one who murdered them. He was the one who severed the bond that he treasures so much. He was the guilty party here. Now, if Rui were left by himself, he would not have turned out the way he did. He would not be the Rui that Tanjiro encountered, that's for sure. Because whilst he was dealing with his actions, he suddenly remembered his mother's last words for him. And I'm gonna be honest, just thinking about this is making me want to cry, making me want to choke up. I'm gonna try my best not to, because that would make for a poor video, wouldn't it? His mother apologizes to him for not giving him a strong body. And this is when Rui loses it. He breaks down completely, understandably so, because now he has to deal with his actions and live with that, which he really can't at that moment. And remember that Rui is a child. Even newly transformed as a demon, he is a child. And then the big bad wolf Muzan comes in, because of course he does. And he affirms Rui's coping mechanism, which is, they couldn't possibly be my parents, because if they could have, why would they try to murder me? Of course, they were bad people. Yes, I am right in whatever, and family should be like this, family. He starts to spiral, and Muzan is here to be like, yes, go down that evil road, that evil path of being a narcissistic psychopath, well, sociopath in this case. Just go. Because, of course, Muzan would. That is how Rui became the demon Tanjiro encountered. It is deeply sad because, as we saw, and as Tanjiro saw, by the end, when his life basically flashed before his eyes, Rui regretted everything he did. And now I want to cry again. Anyways, I'm gonna try and hold back the tears a little bit. You can't really see them, but like, I can feel them. Rui feels incredibly guilty, and he is sorry. So sorry to his parents. And when he goes, he fully expects to go to hell, but his parents were here, they were there, and they were waiting for him. Whew, that destroyed me, really, when I watched it. If Rui could have gone to therapy, or if he could have had good, healthy coping mechanism, he would not have been the cruel monster that he later became. He likely would have become a much better demon than what he ultimately was. Having access to something like hypnotherapy, and I know I sound a little bit crazy when I say this, because why would a demon come to a hypnotherapist? But I'm trying to illustrate what therapy, and more precisely hypnotherapy, can do. It delves into your subconscious, where all of the patterns that you have and the reason why you have them reside. And it allows you to access them and be able to process them, change them, in a way that regular talk therapy does not. Characters from Demon Slayers, whose patterns, usually destructive, violent ones, that manifest especially clearly when they are turned into a demon, if they were to remember, if they were to access why they are acting the way they are acting, would not be the demon they were. And I think this applies to Rui, Akaza most prominently. Can't remember what the name of the instrument, but the musician as well. There are some whose unprocessed trauma and emotions are directly linked to their blood demon art and to how they behaved as demons later on, kind of showing that even when they were not human anymore, their human lives and what they had gone through still has an incredibly strong chokehold on them. A very obvious way in how it manifests in Rui, we saw his desire for family and him seeking to recreate what he once had and lost by his own hands. But also when you look at his blood demon art, it's spider webs, threads, bonds, if you will. Was that completely random? I don't think so. And there is another demon whose blood demon arc also is a clear reference to their human life. Those of you who know who I'm talking about know who I'm talking about. If you guys are interested in having a hypnotherapy session to deal with an unresolved issue, a behavior that you can't seem to change no matter how much you try, do check out in the description below the waiting list for my hypnotherapy practice, which I am going to start sometime in 2026. I haven't really decided on an actual date yet, but I will inform you there when I do. Also, if you have liked this content, despite how heavy it became by the end of it, you may appreciate a more light-hearted one, but that is still very much on theme with how humans work, psychology, but that is seen through the lens of an anime, and that is this video right here. And yes, it is a much more light-hearted and fun one, so it can be a nice palate cleanser.